Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name's Nathan Chan. I'm the CEO and publisher of Foundr Magazine. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to create a digital magazine on a budget. So you're probably wondering, why am I qualified to share this with you? Well, I've actually done it, which is the most important thing for sharing anything. Our company, Foundr Magazine, I started it with $3,000 to launch the first version of the magazine. And to this date, right now, we're a multi-million-dollar per year company. I'm really pumped to share with you guys, what the first 2 years looked like for us on a budget and how the hell I've scaled this thing. So the first thing I want to share with you is you need to actually host your digital magazine somewhere. So there's you've got like a few different options. At Foundr, we host ours and sell it on iTunes and also Android, and I'm going to tell you why in a future point why that's really, really important and how I'll be able to create the magazine on a budget and get it very, very profitable fast and then kind of go on to grow it using those platforms. But then the second thing you want to be thinking about as well for your digital magazine to get it out to people is creating some sort of web version. So the tool that we use for the web version is FlipSnack, and that actually allows us to, take the PDF of the magazine and host it and turn it into a flip book. So we can put it on a website, we can put it, a paywall behind it, or we can put, username and password behind it. Very, very powerful. That's what we use to host the magazine on desktop. And then Android and iTunes, we use a tool called Magcast, M-A-G-C-A-S-T. Now that tool, what it allows you to do is allows you to publish your magazine, build the links to make it interactive, so you can click through the table of contents, you can click on audio interviews to listen to them, you can click on videos, you can do all sorts of things, and you can do that in FlipSnack as well. Those were the two platforms that we use to host the magazine and get it out to the masses. So the cost of using a tool like that, when I used Magcast, when they launched, I started with the $2,000 US lifetime license, and now it doesn't exist anymore, and we pay on a per monthly basis. It's like $50 a month or something like that. And then same with FlipSnack, I think around $50 per month. So it does cost money. It is a small budget though, once we get into the swing of things around what you're actually trying to create. You're trying to create a business. So that's very, very important. So the next thing that you want to be doing when it comes to creating a magazine on a budget is you want to find writers and contributors that will either write for you for free. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, of asking people to write for you for free in exchange for exposure, etc., asking people to do you a favor to write for you for free, or asking people to write for a nominal rate. So that's totally up to you how you want to do it. I definitely recommend paying people and respecting them, but I also recommend when you're doing something on a budget, you've got to work out a fair exchange of value. So you don't want to rip people off. By no means am I saying that. You want to have some sort of fair exchange of value. So if that person contributes X amount of articles, they'll get, all this exposure, or, they can, use you as a resume, something along those lines, which can be really powerful. You're going to have to work that out. You're going to have to, if you want to launch your magazine on a budget, you're going to have to somehow work out how you work with writers, because you need content, or alternatively, you just write all the content yourself. When I first started at Foundr, I wrote, kind of funny even thinking back to this, I've never told anyone, I wrote like 2 or 3 articles in the first edition. And I don't know how good those articles are, but I guarantee you many people will be talking about them and sharing them. So that's something to think about, right? Like sometimes you have to launch things that aren't 100%, but we can talk about that in another video. That's very, very important. You need writers. You need to find writers on a budget. You need contributors. Now, when it comes to your magazine, you definitely need to interview people, especially if you're doing it on a budget, because that's great content. It's easier to write, I believe, from my experience, like an article around someone you've interviewed, because hopefully it's someone you really admire, or they're really passionate about a space you're passionate about. So it's easy to write that, and you can always get it transcribed, and then you can, do all sorts of things around creating that article. But what's important is if you want to do it on a budget, you're going to have to interview people to really provide people with value throughout that magazine, and also to really fill it out. So you're going to have contributors to your magazine, then you're also going to have custom bespoke interviews. Because if you're going to ask someone to pay for your magazine, if you are selling it or you want someone to read it, you want it to be good, and you need interviews. Majority, like pretty much all magazines, they all have interviews. So you're going to have to go out there, do those interviews yourself, and you're probably going to have to write those feature articles as well. Unless you can use what I shared before and work out some sort of contra deal or work out something with people to get them to contribute. Also, when it comes to finding writers or contributors, there's tools that you can use. There's like these cool marketplaces. You definitely should look at Harrow, which stands for Help a Reporter Out, or Sourcebottle. What these places are is they are PR media outlets where it's got supply and demand. So there's people that want to be featured on websites or magazines or blogs or publications, and then there's people that are press that are looking to interview people. They're looking for sources, which is really, really cool. So what you can do is you can do a post on Sourcebottle or Harrow and say, hey, I'm launching this magazine. Do you want to interview anybody for this magazine? Do you want to write content for this magazine for exposure? Very, very powerful way. So that was just one that I have to share with you as well. So now we've found how we're going to host it, and we've worked out our budget there. We've worked out our content, how we're going to budget it there to get around, what I spent for Foundr. The last cost, which you're going to incur, which I believe is the most important one, or one of the most important ones, is designing it. Now, of course, if you're a designer, well, that's an unfair advantage. It's not going to cost you anything, but I'm guessing when you're watching this video, you're probably not. And if you want to create something that's awesome, that you're going to be proud of, then I highly recommend finding a designer. And that's what I did with Foundr, and I found an incredible designer who we still work with to this day who works for us. So you're going to need to find a designer, someone that can do incredible work that you're going to be proud of. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that's probably going to cost a lot of money. Well, the best way that I know to find cost affordable designers that are really incredible is go to Behance.net or Upwork or Dribbble. Just put out a job, you've got your budget there, what you're prepared to spend, and you'll be able to find someone that can design the magazine, and you'll be able to work it within your budget, whatever that budget is. But if you want to go with the goal of how I did it with around $3,000 US, you should be able to make it work. Another thing to consider is when it comes to designing and creating your magazine on a budget, a lot of the traditional print publications are anywhere between 150 to 300 plus pages. When you're creating a digital magazine, you don't have to make it that big. You can make it anywhere between 50 to 100 pages and still make it super valuable to somebody. And that's something that no one ever talks about. So I'm not saying that you skimp out on the content that you're providing. All I'm saying is when you are providing the content, make sure it's really, really good, and it doesn't have to be 300 pages with 50 different articles. It can be like 20 articles or 15 articles, and it can be really, really valuable at 100 pages or 150 pages, which obviously if you keep in mind, the more articles, the more cost, the more design, and it all adds up. So the last point that I want to share with you guys when it comes to creating and launching your digital magazine on a budget is you're probably thinking, well, how the hell do I market this thing? I need money for promotion, all that kind of stuff. Now, there was a reason I said to you at the start of this video that it's really important that you launch the digital magazine on a platform with buyers, with people that are already consuming. That's really, really important. And that was one of the things that I learnt by mistake when I launched Foundr. We launched on the App Store where people were prepared to pay for content, which is really, really important when you think about it, right? So if I was to go out on the internet and try and launch this magazine and just ask people to pay for this magazine, you might not be launching it as a paid magazine, you might be doing it for free. But if you were, right, like I'm going to assume you want to build a business around this thing. Here's the thing, right? Like it's much harder to go to somebody that's not used to paying for magazines, not used to paying for content, as opposed to going on the App Store. And there's people that pay for magazine subscriptions all day, every day on the App Store. There's people that pay for apps. And that's a brilliant thing that Apple did, is they prepared and they taught people how to pay for content. And that's what we did with Foundr, and it was amazing because what that meant is I didn't have to spend money on Facebook ads. I didn't have to spend money on, all these marketing activities or crazy promotions or anything of the sort to really get traction and grow it. And that's what I want to share with you guys as a final piece to this puzzle when it comes to, if you're watching this, you probably want to launch a digital magazine and make a business around it. When you launch your magazine and you're on a budget and you're bootstrapping, just like I was and still am when we build Foundr, you just can't spend a whole ton of money, and you just have to be prepared to find marketing channels to grow it where it's low-hanging fruit and it doesn't cost you anything. And that's what I found within the App Store. What was amazing was on the App Store, what it allowed me to do was launch the magazine, get some initial traction, then we could launch it on the web and we could get this, sales going through there as well. But then another thing that was really important, as we started to grow, I didn't need to spend any money to keep growing it because we had recurring revenue from the subscriptions. And what I found was the lowest hanging fruit were people that were already looking for magazines. So if people were already looking for Forbes or Fast Company, like I had to work out how could we rank. So people that were looking for those types of magazines, they'd see Foundr. And I did that, and that was a game changer. So when I think about marketing, or if I was to start another business tomorrow, my golden rule is, how do I generate sales with spending $0 to generate those? I have to look at the landscape that I'm playing in, and I have to throw things against the wall and see what sticks. But you have to be prepared, like I did for Foundr for the first 2 years of growing it, not spending anything on marketing, because that's just how you've got to do it. And you'll have to do the same thing for your digital magazine on a budget if you're starting from scratch. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a ton of value from it. And if you did, please do hit the like button, because it helps us know the kind of content to create for you guys. And then also, we'd love to get your support. So make sure you also subscribe to this channel. We produce so much content for entrepreneurs. And if you guys want to start a business, grow a business, or scale a business, we interview some of the greatest entrepreneurs of our generation. We also ask a lot of these founders to come on and teach you guys and share, pieces of content that's really going to help you with anything you're doing within your business. And then lastly, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear, how we can help you. What's your biggest struggle right now with launching your digital magazine on a budget? All right, guys, that's it from me, and I'll see you in another video.
The Foundr mission is to help you create an ass-kicking business and help you learn straight from the mouths of world-class founders. Get your free printed edition of Foundr magazine featuring Sir Richard Branson. Just cover shipping and handling at foundr.com/Branson.